practical thing that I want folks to be aware, to think about going forward as you head off into the fleet. So you've just finished 9 weeks of training. You've learned quite a bit. The first point I would make to you is the learning should never end, ever. I've been at this for over 32 years. One of the things I love most about a career in the United States Navy is the opportunity to learn something every single day. Some 80 of you, over half of the class, are going to start the Junior Officer of the Deck course next week. And the rest of you will follow in the next few months. For those in the audience who are representing commands, and particularly commanding officers, I issue a standing invitation from the commanding officer of SWAS to stop by the JOD course. It's a tremendous course that's being stood up, and they welcome drive-bys. You should go take a look at the course of instruction and what we're teaching these young officers as they prepare to step into their first assignment in the fleet and exercise those maritime skills on the bridge. But every single day of your career, get up and think to yourself, what can I learn today about our Navy, about my ship, about my division, about the equipment in my division, about my sailors. That opportunity exists every single day, including today. In fact, this is a challenge to every single surface warfare officer, anybody that wears the uniform. You can still learn something today. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's hot. It's Friday afternoon. It's 1300. How am I going to get this done today? I'm going to teach most of you something right now. And it's based a little bit on what you've learned, perhaps. There's a little bit of element of tradition and trivia to this. And if at the end of this, when you're one of those salty dogs going, I knew that, I knew that, I knew that, clock's ticking, you still got time to learn something else. You learned a little bit about anchoring evolutions, didn't you? Did you learn about how a ship, the characteristics of a ship at anchor? You plot out the swing circle, you plot out the drag circle. There's very good reasons for that. You probably learned the best bottom characteristics, different bottom types, and there are certain types of bottoms that are best for that anchor. But when a ship is at anchor and at rest, it tends to move in a particular direction, particularly in the presence of wind. And I want you to notice this the next time you're at sea. When a ship is at anchor and you put out the scope of chain, by the way, for those not familiar, a lot of the weight of that chain is what helps hold that ship. It's not just the anchor itself, but it's the scope of chain that goes out with it. But when a ship rests at anchor within its swing circle and there is a wind present, the ship moves in a particular direction. It has a particular and unique movement. And I want you to notice it the next time you're at sea. The bow of your ship will not just sit and point into the wind. It will swing. And in fact, it will swing to port and it will swing to starboard, back and forth. And it will swing around and drag that anchor chain back and forth within the swing circle. The stern of your ship will also have a very unique movement, and it will be a figure 8 movement, back and forth, that will follow the bow. So the bow will swing over to starboard, the stern will swing out to port, it will swing up a little bit, and then it will come back behind and it will swing over to starboard. By that time, the bow is swinging over to port. The design of the anchor takes advantage of that characteristic of how ships move when they're at anchor. In fact, it's designed as the ship moves back and forth and sways to dig in even more, the flukes go down so that you get a more firm anchor. And if you know all of that, my last bit of trivia for you is a little bit of nautical trivia, and there is a term for that. Does anybody know what it is? Yeah, if you raise your hand, you got to go find something else out. So the term for that is horsing around the anchor. That is an actual term. Go look it up. I Googled it this morning just to make sure that I wasn't talking. And it's there. But the next time you go to sea, the point is, every single day you get a chance to learn something new and then go out and observe for yourself. So there are ships at anchor all the time here in Coronado Roads. You'll go out there and you notice they're not just pointed in one direction. They're moving around a little bit. And there's some science behind all of that. And there's some physics behind it. And there's some design that goes into how ships are designed to take advantage of that natural movement. Learn something new every single day. The second thing, when you go out there, you're going to be put in positions of leadership. And even as ensigns, you're going to have moments where you're going to have to be faced with a difficult issue, a difficult decision, and you're you're going to feel lonely. Leadership can feel lonely. But catch this. Do not try to do it alone. In fact, one of the coolest aspects of surface warfare is that every single thing we do, the core element is the crew. It's not the individual. You're setting foot aboard ships, and some of your shipmates surround you here. You are joining a team. And everything that you do, every assignment that you carry out, every responsibility that you exercise is part of a greater team's responsibility. So know and understand what your responsibilities are, but it's within the context of the team. And look to reinforce what you do. Look for a backstop and look for help. You're going to reach that moment of where you feel that sense of loneliness. I guarantee you there is somebody else around you, somebody else in your crew, or somebody else in this class that you've met that has felt the same way and gone through the same thing. Reach out to them. Ask for advice. Ask for their perspective. It doesn't eliminate your responsibility to make a decision going forward, but seek help. And as you go forward and lead your sailors, whatever job you have, one of the things you can do to really help that ship and help that commanding officer is reinforce this notion that we are part of a team. Whether you're down in the main spaces with the main engines, whether you have the electrician's mates and you're taking care of electrical gear all over the ship, whether you're up on the bridge assisting with navigation, every single person on that ship plays an important role in getting that ship where it needs to be to deliver the mission and the effects that are desired. You're joining a team. So embrace that fully. For those of you who are here, welcome these new ensigns to your team. Teammates build one another up. Teammates encourage one another. When you see something your teammate can do better, you do it in a way that builds them up and encourages them. It doesn't tear them down. So be a teammate. That's the second thing I want you to remember. You are a part of a team. Here's the final thing that I want to stress to you as you go forward. You put on a uniform every single day. You go forward from here, there'll be additional schools, you'll get to the ship, and then you'll start this process of qualifications. Those qualifications will come. Along the way, you'll be recognized for things that you do. There'll be recognition. Some of you already wear some examples of that. As you move forward a couple of years from now, a promotion will follow, and then another. Okay? It is easy sometimes in this career, particularly when we wear the trappings of office, to get caught up on that and to start to think, yeah, I'm doing pretty well. This is pretty cool. And before you know it, you're in a place like this, and you look down and you look at my uniform, or I look at my own uniform, and I go, yeah, that's not so bad. Okay? It's not about you. You have been given authority and responsibility as officers in the United States Navy. As you progress through the ranks, you will be given more responsibility. You will be given more authority. The purpose of that authority and responsibility is to not make yourself feel good about yourself. The purpose of authority and responsibility is to help and serve those who are privileged to lead. So take that authority and responsibility that you have right now on your shoulders and go out and think about the sailors that you're going to stand in front of. Think about those shipmates that are part of that team and that crew that you join. Take that authority and responsibility that you have right now and use it to make life better, to serve your sailors, help them solve difficult problems. You take the focus off yourself and you work on being that teammate, serving those you're privileged to lead, you're going to find great reward in everything that you do out in the fleet. I promised you 3 points, and I gave those to you. And now a very practical suggestion. This is a little pandering to the parents that are in the audience. I recognize this is the first professional training for you on your way to the fleet. By the way, my wife and I have a son who's a surface warfare officer. He's a lieutenant now, a navigator on an East Coast destroyer. And our youngest son is going to graduate from Kings Point in the spring, and he wants to be a naval officer as well. Used to be in the last century, one of the signs of adulthood was you got your own car insurance. And it's the 21st century. And we have learned as 21st century parents that the last apron string that is cut and the first indication that you have graduated full adulthood is you have your own cell phone plan. I realize many of you are going to go to operational ships, and there may be a few out there that have stayed on mom and dad's cell phone plan just because it's easier. Speaking on behalf of fathers who are present, go ahead and get your own cell phone. Speaking on behalf of all the mothers who are out there, when you're done with this ceremony today, use that cell phone plan that you own and call your mom. Okay? Keep in touch with your family. That's one of those support networks that will stay with you. And I know they're very proud of you. I join with them in saluting you and congratulating you. Go do great things as you go on to additional training as you head up to the fleet. Look forward to shaking your hands this afternoon. Congratulations, everybody.